One of the most fantastic and effective ways to fund the Eagle Eye is through our memberships on theeagleeye.net/subscribe. It's THE that you can sign up for to support the Eagle Eye, offering exclusive benefits to our subscribers. The first of these is our briefing tier. It's our monthly package. For only $10 a month, you have exclusive access to 3 to 4 premium articles a month, our weekly briefing newsletter. You get the ability to comment on articles and join our forum discussions, and you have a 5% discount on all merchandise in our store. Our second tier is our dispatch tier. It's our annual tier. It's $102 a year or only $8.50 a month. This will provide you all of the features in the briefing package, as well as increased merchandise discounts and promotions, exclusive Q&A sessions and additional content, one-time store credit, and you will also get to join our forums. Finally, is the strategic tier. It's our premium package for the most support offered to the Eagle Eye. This is sort of a package that enables you to offer exclusive insight and support to our company and the operation to fight tyranny for the truth. For $192 a year, you get full access to all of our paid articles and newsletters. You get to comment on articles and join discussion, special increased merchandise discounts and promotions, priority in our exclusive Q&A sessions and additional content, a one-time store credit, special behind-the-scenes updates, recognition as a strategic supporter, exclusive virtual roundtable, editorial influence, and priority content submission review. This means you will be published if meeting editorial standards, and you'll get to join our monthly advisory feedback surveys. Now, these are our main ways to fund the company. There is no other channel of income that offers greater support than our membership packages, and it makes you a paid member of the Eagle Eye. Now, the Eagle Eye is a company that provides a voice to all American patriots and patriots worldwide. So this does not exclude you if you do not sign up. But what signing up does is it keeps us on air, it keeps us online, it keeps us in the fight. The more funds we get into the company, the stronger our voice will become, the stronger we'll be in this fight. So consider, please, I implore you to go to theeagleeye.net/subscribe and subscribe to one of our 3 tiers. I highly recommend the strategic tier. It offers the most benefits, be the greatest for you. Please head to theeagleeye.net/subscribe today. to control each of the 10 regions, as well as smaller, less frequent contributors to the Eagle Eye across the 10 region. We want to have a contributor within every state. That way, when something happens, we have someone to contact. We have someone that will be providing news for the Eagle Eye. Now, here's the thing. The Eagle Eye is not a company run by a bunch of posers and pundits sitting high and mighty in a studio. We are a company that is providing a voice and platform to the people of the free world, providing a platform to the patriots of the West, and specifically to Americans. This means that to provide a voice to you, you have to be willing to take a stand and to contribute to the cause. You can join our show. You can write an article. You can write an essay, a research study. You can write a video. Any way that you want to contribute, we will work with you the best we can to publish your contributions and to publish your voice, broadcast your voice, your view to the country, because you are of the people. You are the people. You are the lead of this country. We, the people of the United States of America. We are the people. We have to hold the government accountable. We have to hold the people accountable because we are a republic. We are a people country. We're a people-led country. To do that, you must contribute. If you want to really fight in the cause, you must contribute to the cause. And we are providing a platform to do that. So please reach out to theeagleeye.net. You go to our contact page, contact@theeagleeye.net via your email. Reach out to me, reach out to the company, and we will work with you to establish you as a frequent contributor or a one-time contributor to the Eagle Eye. Contribute today. Fight today. Fight. You are the George Washington, the Sam Adams, the Patrick Henrys, the Thomas Jeffersons. Fight today. Fight. anything done. Excuse me, it seems I'm having some technical difficulties. Let me start over. Welcome back to the Daniel C. Green Show at the Eagle Eye. Our special election edition tonight. We're going to be going till 11 p.m. At 9 p.m., we are having a space on X. If you want to join us, go to X Spaces. You'll find my account, the Eagle Eye News, and you'll see our space at 9 p.m. I'm going to start at 8:50 so we can try and prevent any more technical difficulties. I've had them all through the beginning of the stream. But we'll try and work that out. That's all right. Joining us will be Maverick Darby, a AI and meme genius. Hopefully that gets worked out. Now, what we're looking at today, I believe, is one of the most indicative elections we are going to see in American history. Because what this election is going to represent is everything going forward in the next 3 years. So, of course, the 2024 election was easily the most important and significant election in American history. Because if Kamala Harris won, I guarantee you this republic would die. It would burn. It would burn to the ground. I have no doubt of that whatsoever. But this election's indicative of something different. It's indicative of how the people view the future of America. And what do the people see? What do the people see? They're reflecting on everything that we've seen so far in President Trump's second term. They're reflecting on the future of America. Because I don't have the stats, but speaking to your everyday common American, most people believe that we are at a turning point. And that turning point being, we've reached a point of no return. We're never going back to the good old days. The world is not going back to the good old days. If we turn to the end of the Bible, we see things don't get better in the future. The grass is not greener on the other side. But what we can see is that it's not pleasant. President Trump was our strongest hope for the future of America. And unfortunately, what we have seen is a lot of dissatisfaction. We have been highly dissatisfied with the presidency. We've been highly dissatisfied with everything that's going on. And I guess perhaps the people's question is there any hope? Is there hope? Because when the people loses hope, that is the most dangerous point a country can reach. It is the most dangerous point a country can ever reach. So what this election is indicative of is the future of America. Back in, I believe it was May, Scott Presler wins countless voters in Pennsylvania and states all across the eastern seaboard and the Northeast. And he came out and he basically said this. He said, we're going to lose the midterms. We're going to lose everything we fought for in the last 2 years. Why? We're not going to lose because the people aren't more conservative. Matter of fact, the Democrats are literally losing on every single point that they have. The Democrats don't have a campaign. They don't have a platform. They don't have anything that they're fighting for that the people care about. I think the only thing that they're winning on has to do with, respect to democracy, which is ironic considering the fact that we're not a democracy. Of course, we're a constitutional republic. I've written articles on this. You can view it at theeagleeye.net. That's theagleye.net. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. It's a democratic form of government. Nonetheless, I digress. But what these politicians don't understand is their campaign doesn't resonate with the people. When you get to a point when you can't afford food at the grocery store, your children don't have a future to buy a house and start a family, you're way below replacement rate, and the government says that's a good thing, people stop caring about whether or not Israel is the ultimate bad guy in the overly exaggerated action movie. People don't care about potential corruption in some foreign country. People don't care about climate change and the transgender issue. People care about staying alive. And unfortunately, the Democrats have totally failed their constituents on these issues, and I really think the Republicans have too, and that's the problem. The problem is the people have no hope in their own party. Because right now, the Republicans are the party. We have the majority, and what have we done? What do we have to pat ourselves on the back for? Very little. Yesterday, I was reflecting on President Trump's administration, and I kind of came to a conclusion. He has three cabinets that have he has three departments that have done anything. Tulsi Gabbard has been pretty satisfactory. Pete Hegseth has been pretty satisfactory, and RFK has been very satisfactory. The rest of his administration has been very disappointing. I mean, Vice President Vance has been pretty impressive on a lot of issues. Of course, you have Kash Patel, who has made an utter mockery of himself. And that's really something that I'm thinking about focusing in on in this podcast here, is Kash Patel has totally made a fool of the FBI, of himself. I mean, he had a really strong following amongst conservatives coming into this administration. And what did he do? He totally screwed it over. He totally lost it. And nobody really knows what happened to Kash Patel and then to Dan Bongino. And I think they thought that the Charlie Kirk thing could be their saving grace. But it certainly wasn't. I think it lowered their approval rating even lower than it ever was. And the problem, though, is the American people expected the FBI to, suck under Biden's administration. You expect that. You know the government's corrupt under a corrupt leader. But under President Trump, we had to have higher hopes. We had to be optimistic. We didn't have a choice. You had two choices. Trust President Trump to get this job done, or burn it to the ground. Most conservatives, by definition, don't want to burn it to the ground. Therefore, they chose to trust Trump. And you see the people who chose not to trust Trump and how insane they've reached. Because if you can't trust the president, who's considered really the most trustworthy candidate we've had since Reagan, if you can't trust him to get the job done, there is no hope. There's no hope for the future. There's no hope for anything. So what do? They go insane. They go crazy. The next thing you know, they're making up these wild, facetious tales that President Trump is owned by Bibi Netanyahu and the Chinese, and you just name it, because they go insane, because they have nothing to place their hope in. And something that I have discussed in my spaces and in articles is, if you get to a point where you cannot believe anything, where you cannot verify that anything is real, you reach a point of nihilistic insanity, because now nothing that our factions and nothing that our domains observe is believable. It's a matrix concept, basically. And that's the point these people have reached with the Trump administration. And it's hard to argue with it when I look at a lot of this stuff and I say, yeah, there's a lot of points that President Trump has delivered on. We're blowing up narco ships down south of America. That's fantastic. We're getting rid of the fentanyl. We're getting the fentanyl out of the United States. We're saving American lives. Fantastic. President Trump just made a pretty good statement on SNAP. It's not as extreme as I would like, and we can cover that here shortly. It's not as extreme as I would like, but it's at least satisfactory. We don't need to have a major minority, it's like 40-something million Americans on SNAP. It's a problem. It's a major problem. And under Biden, we gave SNAP to everybody. If you signed up for SNAP, you had SNAP. That was great. We can't stand for that. President Trump has been pretty good with the economy and with domestic policy. He has delivered on a lot of things. The rest of the Trump administration is where things have been very lacking. Need I say Attorney General Pam Bondi? So the question is, how is this going to affect the midterms? Because we have the majority until the midterms. And I think it would be logical to assume one of two scenarios happen in 2026. Either we lose Congress, so we lose the House, we lose the Senate. That's kind of worst case scenario. And I anticipate that. That's what I anticipate is going to happen. I anticipate we lose all of Congress. There's scenario one. Scenario two is we keep the majority, or somewhat balanced, but we keep the people we still have in Congress. And if we keep the people we still have, we're never going to get anywhere. How do I know this? I said, Daniel, how do you know we're not going to get anywhere? Because we haven't. If history says we haven't gotten anywhere doing the same thing, then it's reasonable because we trust our domains, we trust observation, the God-given observation using our supercomputer of a brain. I can say that if history shows that the same people haven't gotten anything done except pad their own wallets, then there's a very good chance that in the future the same people are going to get nothing done and continue to pad their own wallets. It's just logical to make that assumption. What does this mean for the midterms? This means we lose the majority. President Trump can't get anything done. They're going to try and impeach him again. They're going to start more riots. They're going to start a civil war. They're going to take away your guns. They're going to take away your First and Second Amendment rights. They're going to burn the Constitution in Washington, D.C. They're going to start surveilling you even more than they already have, if it's even possible. I mean, study Edward Snowden. They're going to throw you in Rex 84 concentration camps, and we're going to lose everything. You get to the 2028 election, we're going to lose the presidency because the people are going to have had enough of it. And let me come back to that in just about 30 seconds. People are going to have enough of it. We're going to end up being taken over by the New World Order globalists. The 2030 agenda is still coming. We're not doing a whole lot to prevent it from happening. 2030 comes, we lose the country, you're thrown in Rex 84 concentration camps like they started setting up during COVID-19. You can watch the videos. They wanted to throw the people, specifically conservatives, in the concentration camps. The next thing you know, we've lost America, we've lost the country, it's all done. End of story. It seems like an extreme spiral. I understand that. But that's the natural progression. Because if we can't fix it now, we don't have a lot of time. Because we already passed worst case scenario under the Biden administration. That was worst case. How does it get worse than that? I don't want to imagine worse than that. I don't want to imagine that for my children. I don't want to bring people into a world that's worse than it was in 2021. So there's a whole another opportunity there. People don't want to bring children into this, so we go way below replacement rate. Conservatives don't have kids. Christians don't have kids. We lose basic fundamental traditional viewpoints in the country, and we lose the country that way. It's one or the other. Okay. The other thought that I had on this Trump administration is with J.D. Vance. President Trump was the populist candidate. You had, if you think back in 2016, you had President Trump and you had Rand Paul. You had the statesman of Rand Paul, who's, on a side note, been very disappointing. He's one of the congressmen we're talking about who's been very disappointing. The libertarians haven't delivered anything. He stands on principles, though. He stands on his principles. Well, that's great. But not if you don't do anything. Anyhow, you had the statesman Rand Paul versus the populist President Trump. Going into 2020, you basically had President Trump and weak candidates versus Joe Biden, a brain-dead dummy, who basically his administration was ran by an auto pen. Going into 2024, you had President Trump versus a cackling hen, which was totally screwed up to begin with. Going into 2028, though, we're not going to have the populist candidate. We're going to have the majority candidate. It's natural progression. Trump was not natural progression when he came into office. Most people originally, didn't anticipate Trump to run, but if they did, a lot of people didn't expect him to win. A lot of Trump's biggest supporters now didn't support him out of the gate. They supported people like Ted Cruz. People that had a history in the Republican Party, they were GOP, they were kind of part of the club. President Trump was never part of the club. President Trump created clubs. President Trump had his own cliques. He joined the clubs, but he never was part of the club. He was kind of above that and beside that. So he came in as the populist. But J.D. Vance's not going to be the populist. The American people want a populist. I'm not saying J.D. Vance won't make or wouldn't make a good president. I'm not saying that. And evidently, it seems like they're pushing the whole Marco Rubio as vice president, which makes me very nervous. I don't think that that's the direction we want to go, because what they say, J.D. Vance becomes president and then Marco Rubio becomes president after him. I don't think that's the direction we need to go. We need a firebrand in as president, because once J.D. Vance comes in 2029, he's going to have the equivalent of minutes to take care of problems. And I just don't know how it's going to go, but he's not going to be the populist. The American people are voting for a populist. The American people want a populist. So coming back into the election coverage, because this is what this is. This is an election coverage session here. What does this mean? Like I said earlier, might have been before my microphone started working, Scott Presler said, I believe it was back in May, we're going to lose the midterms. We're not going to lose the midterms because the people aren't more conservative. Yeah, I see a lot of these people have shifted really far right. Now, I'm far right. These people are alternate right. I'm not saying the Jews are perfect. I'm not saying other ethnicities, which is totally a fabricated concept to begin with and totally unbiblical. But these different ethnicities are part of American culture. No, they don't assimilate very well. That is, again, observation. We can see that. But I'm not alt-right. I am very far to the right on the political spectrum. But you have to understand, as Scott Presler said, the problem is the candidates. The problem is the people aren't trying to wake up people. You have a lot of very conservative people in rural America, even still in some of the cities across the states. Okay, I'll use my state as an example. Ohio is supposed to be a very conservative state. The polls show us as conservative. Studies show us to be far right. You have the rural ag conservative. You have blue-collar conservatives. But I don't see it on the ground. You can sit in the studios and you can say, oh, well, the bullshit and Americans are more conservative than they've ever been, and, they don't want the Democrat. Well, that's because they look at the Biden administration and they say, I'm a liberal, but I don't want a despot in as my president. This is logical. This is when we still could have normal political discussion with people who weren't insane. These are conversations we could have. You are liberal, I don't agree with you, but you're not trying to kill a bunch of babies and allow illegals in. They say, well, it's liberals, like liberals, and I know that they don't really like blue-haired freaks who mutilate their bodies and butcher kids. That's not really their thing. Why? Because they're at least semi-sane. So those people look at this and say, we don't want a cackling hen as our president. We don't want a president who allowed all of California to burn to the ground. We don't want a president who's brain dead and did everything by an auto pen and was made a mockery by the entire world. We want like a JFK. So that's a lot of those people who are now saying, okay, we're going to become Republican. We're going to vote for the Republican because, well, it's better than, dying. I think that's where a lot of this comes from. But even a lot of the conservatives that I know on a local level, they're not actually conservative. They're not really far right. If anything, maybe they're moderate right. Maybe they're centrist. If anything, I would say they're apolitical. They don't care. They spend most of their time making fun of President Trump because he said something mean. He hurt my feelings. And he might be a decent president, but I wouldn't want him around my children. It's so stupid. It's stupid. People don't understand politics. They don't understand government. The stupidity is one thing. The apathy is another. So a lot of these people aren't voting. If you didn't vote today, you're a loser. If you didn't vote today, you don't care about the future of your country. If you didn't vote today, you are worthless when it comes to the political conversation, and you have no right to complain. Come days to come when things start burning to the ground, because Rome is burning to the ground. And what happened when Rome burned? Nero fiddled. He fiddled as he watched Rome burn to the ground. Rome is burning. If you didn't vote in the 2025 election, there's a good chance you're probably not going to vote in the midterms, and it's known that there's a much lower turnout in the midterms and a significantly lower turnout in your off-season, off-cycle elections. But if you didn't vote today, you don't care. You have no right to join conversation. Now, I'm friendly. I'm a friendly guy, I will be happy to continue having conversation with you. But here's the thing. You don't care. It's like... It's like discussing the complexities of taking a test, a collegiate test. But one of the guys who's complaining the most didn't even take the class. And he never took the test because he didn't take the class, and he wasn't ever there. He actually dropped out the first week. He dropped out the first week, but he was complaining about how hard the exam was. And you're like, dude, you weren't even here. What are you talking about? You have no right to complain. You didn't even do the work. You weren't even here. You were off having lunch over at some restaurant. It's the same thing. If you didn't vote, you don't care. Because if you cared, you would have voted. It's that simple. The reason that we have lost our republic and we've become more of a democracy, it's the democratization. Because, okay, in all fairness, we were founded as a federal constitutional republic. Now, I would have rather been an anti-federal constitutional republic, but that's a separate issue. We were founded as a federal constitutional republic. But going into the 1860s and a little bit under Andrew Jackson, Andrew Jackson was much less democratic than he was anti-federal. He was more of an anti-federalist than he was democratic. But going into the 1860s, with the North, mind you, there was pushed heavy democracy. In the 1860s and 1850s, heavy democracy. And then you had progressive liberalism in the early 1900s that pushed more of this democracy. So yes, we're much less of a republic than we were in our founding. Our government was much more complex when it comes to the electoral system. But here's the point. Whether we're a democracy or if we're a republic, both of those are run by the people. Of the people, by the people, for the people. What does that mean? It's a government of the people. We, the people, us, you and I, run for office to run the government because our fellow citizens around us said, look, you're the guy who knows what needs to happen. You're going to make changes that we want. We're going to vote for you. By the people. The government is, again, made up by the people. Not made up of an upper class, not made up of just a low class like we're going to now. It's made up of a variety of the people that the people want. For the people. The government serves the people. None of that's happening now. But at the base value of it, government is voted on by the people. We vote representatives to do our bidding in government. We had a full democracy. We don't have to go to our state house or to the national, Washington, D.C. to vote on every single issue. We elect people in a Republican system. We elect people to go and vote for us. But if you didn't vote today, you don't care. You don't care what happens to the country. You don't care where we go. All you care about is complaining. You're a Facebook mom. That's all you are. You're a soccer mom on Facebook complaining that your little girl didn't make as many goals as she should have because the coach isn't really good at his job. And you're starting a campaign to get him fired. But you're not going to do anything because if we're all being honest, you're just too lazy. That's all you are. And that's probably what you do in your free time. I'm sure that probably is what you're actually doing. So if you didn't vote today, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from you because when everything comes push to shove and the republic burns to the ground and people either storming Washington, D.C. or Washington, D.C. is storming us and you're coming to me for survival and for protection and ask, what happened? What are we going to do? I'm going to tell you, screw you, because you didn't do anything to begin with. Because you never fought. You never cared. You never put a stake in the game because it was too hard. It was too hard to go sign a ballot. Worthless. So we're going to get in here. We're going to go to our space here in, a very short amount of time, 25 minutes. But for now, first, we're going to try and go over some of the candidates here in this election because this is an off-cycle election, but there's multiple major candidates here, and I'm going to try and break some of this down. Most people, I would say, likely don't know who the major candidates, who the major players are in this election. I myself am no expert. If you're wanting an expert analysis, I'm here for a discussion. I'm here to try and break some of this down. I'm not an expert. But we're going to try to get to that here very shortly. First, we're going to go to an ad break. We'll be right back after this short ad. One of the most fantastic and effective ways to fund the Eagle Eye is through our memberships on theeagleeye.net/subscribe. It's theeagleeye.net/subscribe. Here we have 3 different tiers that you can sign up for to support the Eagle Eye, offering exclusive benefits to our subscribers. The first of these is our briefing tier. It's our monthly package. For only $10 a month, you have exclusive access to 3 to 4 premium articles a month, or a weekly briefing newsletter. You get the ability to comment on articles and join our forum discussions, and you have a 5% discount on all merchandise in our store. Our second tier is our dispatch tier. It's our annual tier. It's $102 a year or only $8.50 a month. This will provide you all of the features in the briefing package, as well as increased merchandise discounts and promotions, exclusive Q&A sessions and additional content, one-time store credit, and you will also get to join our forums. Finally, is the strategic tier. It's our premium package for the most support offered to the Eagle Eye. This is sort of a package that enables you to offer exclusive insight and support to our company and the operation to fight tyranny and for the truth. For $192 a year, you get full access to all of our paid articles and newsletters. You get to comment on articles and join discussion. special increased merchandise discounts and promotions, priority in our exclusive Q&A sessions and additional content, a one-time store credit, special behind-the-scenes updates, recognition as a strategic supporter, exclusive virtual roundtable, editorial influence, and priority content submission review. This means you will be published if meeting editorial standards, and you'll get to join our monthly advisory feedback surveys. Now, these are our main ways to fund the company. There is no other channel of income that offers greater support than our membership packages, and it makes you a paid member of the Eagle Eye. Now, the Eagle Eye is a company that provides a voice to all American patriots and patriots worldwide. So this does not exclude you if you do not sign up. But what signing up does is it keeps us on air, it keeps us online, it keeps us in the fight. The more funds we get into the company, the stronger our voice will become, the stronger we'll be in this fight. So consider, please, I implore you to go to theeagleeye.net/subscribe and subscribe to one of our 3 tiers. I highly recommend the strategic tier. It offers the most benefits, be the greatest for you. Please head to theeagleeye.net/subscribe today. Much of what we are back live. It is 8:39. We're back here live at the Dana C. Green Show with the Eagle Eye. If you were listening, please share this stream. There are very, very few people watching this stream right now, and that's okay. That's okay, because we'll get there. We'll get there. It all takes time. It all takes time, and that's perfectly okay. We are going to break down the key players in just a moment. But first, I'd like to give a little prayer. And also check to make sure my stream is running properly. I'm going to give a little prayer that I developed based out of the St. Michael prayer. You know, the St. Michael prayer is a prayer based out of the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. And a lot of Protestants, they don't believe in the St. Michael prayer because it's Catholic. And because it prays to St. Michael. But it doesn't have to be to St. Michael. Because at the end of the day, what a lot of people don't understand is, while praying to the saints is not exactly the most biblical belief, a lot of those prayers are rooted in a hint of truth. And St. Michael is biblically written about defending us in battle. And I don't think there's anything more important right now in the defense in this battle that we're waging. Wow. Everything has been so bad in the last few days. We'll get to that in just a second. O Lord, send forth St. Michael the Archangel to defend us in battle. Through your command, let him be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. O God, rebuke him, we humbly pray. And may the prince of the heavenly host, by your power and authority, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who roam the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. On the topic of disaster and chaos, the SNAP benefits were cut, temporarily, because of Congress's, laziness. And that's causing mass threats across the entire country. And that, right before the election, of course, the Democrats knew they could do it, be lazy, do nothing, sit back, get paid by us to do absolutely nothing. But they knew they could spin it so that way they could blame it on the Republicans and it would cost us in the ballots. And it did. I believe it probably did nationwide. Now you have threats. All churches in the United States have been alerted to be on high alert because the people who had their SNAP cut are being encouraged by influencers and even politicians to storm church doors and forcefully take food at all costs. And you can see an extreme increase in church violence nationwide. There's maps being developed for this. Join the map projects for that, by the way. It's very beneficial for commentators and for the average citizen to look at this and see how many churches have been attacked. So you have that, and you have President Trump moving his cabinet members into military bases, and something is stirring. We're testing nukes for the first time since the 90s. Like I said, something is stirring. Well, let's go through some of the candidates here. We're going to head over to the AP election results. Their ads. So 65% of votes have been counted for the Virginia governor. It is, Abigail Spanberger, 55.5%. She's the Democrat candidate. The GOP candidate has 44.3% of votes. 66% of votes have been counted. The New Jersey governor. Zoom in here. The New Jersey governor, 30% of votes have been counted. The Democrat candidate is vastly in the lead by 20%. There are no percent of votes counted for the New York mayor. I'm not surprised. This was just updated minutes ago. 0%. The California Proposition 50, also 0%, of course. So the polls closed at 7 p.m. for the Virginia governor. Say 66% of the votes have been counted, and the Democrat is in the lead. That's not good. Not good. We're going to head back over to our AI analysis here. So we're looking at election turnouts, which is a screen that I've been showing for the whole time I've been talking here. If you happen to read it on the screen, you can see what the turnouts looked like. So for New York City, you had 23% of registered voters. That is an extremely low number. If you think about how big New York City is, you want to complain about losing year over year over year? There's a good chance, I bet you that, I'm sure that 18% of you aren't the conservatives voting. Obviously not, because you keep losing by wild margins. If the conservatives got out and voted, maybe you would win. Now, I get it. I understand the fact that the conservative numbers in New York City are wildly low, but maybe that's because you're not voting. New Jersey, the governor election, he had 40 to 50%, roughly. That's an estimate. 40 to 50%, as reflected in similar races. For Virginia, for their governor election, you had 57%. This is in 2021. 57% of registered voters. That's a little bit better. It's a 15% increase. And we'll see these numbers going into tomorrow and voter turnout. Maybe I will get to retract some of my statements. Maybe some of my criticisms I'll have to retract. But I don't think so. I don't think so. North Carolina, you had 338,000 voters that participated across the October and November elections, which is significantly lower than prior years. It's like almost half. You had 630,000 in 2019. And my estimation is, these will either spike way down or spike way up. So we'll see. So we're going to head over and do a little bit of an analysis here. Okay, so we have, again, this is XAI's Grok, how to make a breakdown of these candidates. So for the Virginia governor, Winsome Earl Sears is the Republican lieutenant governor. He's a pro-life, school choice advocate. It's exactly the kind of person that Virginia needs right now. It's the candidate that you need across the entire United States. You want pro-life candidates. You want school choice advocates. Those are who you're looking for in governor. It's what you see in Vivek Ramaswamy in Ohio. Abigail Spanberger is the Democrat. She's ex-CIA. Well, that's not concerning. She pushes abortion rights and sanctuary policies. In New Jersey, for their governor, there's a blue state flip opportunity. Jack Ciattarelli is the Republican. He's a businessman, tax cutter, and he's anti-Murphy socialism. Mickey Shirelli is the Democrat. She's a congresswoman, moderate facade, but pro-choice, green spending queen. Look, if you want just a basic breakdown, if someone claims to be conservative, they claim to be libertarian, liberal, whatever, if they say they're pro-choice, they're insane. That means they're pro-murder. That means they're open to murdering people. You don't vote for those people. You kick those people out. You get those people as far away from civilization as possible. Those are the kind of people that used to be put in rubber rooms. You don't want those people as your elected representatives. Because again, like I said earlier, the representatives represent what the people think. Or at least they should. They don't when only 29% of people vote. That's a minority, not a majority. Which is exactly what they want. But if someone says they're pro-choice, that means they're pro-murder, which means they're pro-insanity. It's not what you want. Okay. New Jersey's taxes are absolutely insane. We all know this. If we actually win New Jersey, if the Republicans, and again, we have to just hope and trust that the Republicans are going to do something. I have little faith of that, but here's to hoping. It's at least better than a pro-choice leader. New Jersey's taxes are out the wazoo. New Jersey's a failing state. New York City mayor. We've all heard about Zohran Mamdani. This is probably the election that most people are looking at right now. Zohran Mamdani is insane. Listen to me and listen very closely. Zohran Mamdani might not be as insane as some conservatives make him out to be. I don't exactly think that he's this huge Islamicist, psycho terrorist. I don't think he's really all that Islamic at all. I think what he is, in the Christian world, we talk about pew sitters, people who attend, a Catholic or Protestant church, but they're not really, they may or may not be saved, they're not all that dedicated to their faith. I think that's kind of what Zohran Mamdani is. He's like an atheistic Muslim, which if you think about it, is actually the most frightening, because now you have, what? Basically a relativistic, atheistic Muslim. So he cuts out all the religion, all the boring God stuff. He cuts all that out for just what's left, terrorism. Because Islam's not really a religion. It's just a religious ideology, essentially. It's an ideology taken to a religious extreme. And it's a terroristic ideology is what it is. So Zohran Mamdani, in my opinion, he's kind of an atheistic Muslim. He's a socialist. He's more like a fascist. He's a defunder of the police. He's an open borders radical, as this analysis shows. Zohran Mamdani is the worst thing that could happen to New York City. I don't have time to break down all of this. Maybe in the 9 o'clock hour, we will discuss this in the space. Zohran Mamdani is absolutely insane. And then there's all the controversy with Andrew Cuomo. I don't care if he's a moderate. Trump may have picked Cuomo because he thinks he has a better chance of beating Mamdani. I understand this. But right now, we need to rally behind a conservative who can save the city. Cuomo's not going to save New York City. Cuomo's just going to lightly apply the brakes as they're hurling off a cliff. He may delay the inevitable, but he's not going to prevent it. They needed to back a conservative harder than anything that's ever been seen in any race, any presidential race, anything. Didn't happen. I guarantee you Mamdani's going to win. I know that some of the polls are showing that it's iffy and it could go either way. Polymarket, I think, gave a 90% chance to Mamdani. We're going to see, but I'm almost positive that Mamdani is going to win this one, and it's just going to be utter mayhem for New York City. If you're a conservative in New York City, my suggestion to you is get out. Get out before it turns to Dante's 7 circles of hell. Get out. Just get out. The Virginia Attorney General, Jason Miyares, Republican Trump-backed election integrity crusader, pro-life litigator, versus Jay Jones, the Democrat ex-delegate, soft on crime, mentally insane. We all have heard about Jay Jones. We saw him trending on X. The guy's mentally insane. If Virginia elects Jay Jones, Virginia's screwed. Virginia's never going to turn back. They're going to turn to a wildly blue state. They're going to go, again, hurdle off that metaphorical cliff. There's no hope for Virginia if they elect Jay Jones. And what does that say of the people? If the people are either so apathetic they don't vote, or the people's will is that Jay Jones is elected, what does that say about the people? In my opinion, it says they're absolutely insane. It says that we have no hope. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court retentions. You got 3 Democrats. You got a yes-no votes. We need to vote no on all of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court retentions. The court rules on abortion, redistricting, and election laws. The Democrats block Trump challenges before ousting them flips to Republican edge, protecting pro-life precedents. Pennsylvania, in my opinion, it's kind of like a precursor to what's going to happen in Ohio. Again, if the people don't stop this, wow, it's going to be mayhem. Okay, so ballot measures. Texas Prop 3, a no bail for violent felons. What it would do is denies bail to repeat offenders like murderers and rapists. This is great. This is absolutely great. So you need to hope that it passes. I pray that it passes. Because there shouldn't be bail for, I don't care if the repeat offenders or not. If you are a convicted murderer or rapist, you shouldn't have bail. You should receive capital punishment. We have institution for capital punishment. You got hanging, firing squad, electric chair, the lethal injection. There's a whole bunch of ways that we can legally take someone. That's why it's called capital punishment. And it's biblical too. I know there's some Christians, probably some watching this, or who are going to watch the recording later, who are anti-capital punishment. But let me remind you that it's fully biblical in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Now, people say, well, Jesus, he saved the woman's life. He said, well, who are you to cast stones? Okay, but that doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't believe in upholding the law. The point was, it was taken too far. And there's a whole theological lesson there that we're not going to get into, but the Bible absolutely supports capital punishment. Let me make that clear. Maybe we can discuss this at a later time. Write an article or cover it in one of our Sunday morning shows. Texas Prop 15, parental rights and upbringing. It affirms parents' authority over kids' education and medical decisions. I just want to note that the fact that this has to be voted on to begin with and isn't just secured is horrifying. Because parents should obviously have full, final, and 100% unobjectionable authority over their kids' education, over the medical decisions, over most things that apply to the kid unless under extenuating circumstances. If the parent beats the kid, yeah, you don't want the parent with the kid, I get it. Most of the time, that's not the case. It affirms the parent's authority over kids' education and medical decisions. This needs to be passed overwhelmingly. Again, if this is something that people don't vote for, nightmare. You see this out west, where, and there's a few states now where kids can, get vaccines with other parents' permission and whatever. That's a nightmare. Because, okay, you do have some educated kids, and I'm literally writing a book about how youth should take responsibility and take action. John Quincy Adams was an overseas secretary and worked for ambassadors 3 times by the time he was 15. Okay, that's true. But when a kid walks into a doctor's office, your 12-year-old or whatever, most 12-year-olds, they don't know that much about medical stuff. Most parents don't, let's be real. The kid walks in and the doctor's like, hey kid, you gotta take this vaccine. I'm a doctor, it's good for your medical school, blah, blah, blah. But the kid's gonna take it. They're probably not gonna ask the kid permission at that point. If you're already at the point where you're denying parents the right to choose what kind of medical services your kid gets, then at that point, the doctor's not going to ask the kid for permission. The doctor's just going to kind of be like, oh yeah, they were okay with it, and then just do it. Of course, it is worth noting that President Trump is wanting to end funding to hospitals that are doing, trans surgery, so that could kind of fall in this discussion of the parents' oversight, because then that'll just kind of cut that off at the head. But again, parents need to have full authority over what happens with their kids' medical. Okay. Get through the rest of this here pretty quickly. Texas Prop 16. It'll prohibit non-citizens from local state elections. Again, this shouldn't have to be voted on. This should be logical. It should already be established as a fact. But again, we've had countless illegal aliens coming into the fold. They're voting for people. They tend to vote for the Democrats because it's the Democrats who aren't going to kick them out. It's the conservatives who want to get rid of them, well, specifically your further right conservatives. Oy vey. This shouldn't have to be voted on, but here we are. I'm not surprised. It's sad that we've come this far, though. It's sad that we've come so far that we have to actually prohibit non-citizens from local and state elections. Oh, this needs to be passed on a federal level. Again, we want this to pass. We need to ensure election integrity as a sacred trust, as a constitutional basis. Main question 1, it's on voter photo ID. We'll mandate ID for voting, and we'll tighten absentee rules. Again, this absolutely needs to be passed. It'll secure the elections in Maine. It'll secure the elections. It'll naturally reflect a more conservative vote because, again, a major part of your Democrat vote is illegals, and it is people on the welfare. It's people hooked to the welfare state. And then it's just, fake votes. So once we kick out a major part of this, your non-citizens, this will help secure their elections. And this is, again, an absolute must. And then California Prop 50. It will lock in Democrat maps. It'll freeze legislator-drawn congressional districts through 2030. This needs to be defeated because, again, it exposes the California's rigging. It rallies conservatives for the 26 recounts. It's gerrymandering to dilute the Trump gains, and it's anti-fair play. I'm not in California. There's a good chance that we'll have somebody in our space here. If you're listening to this, head over to X right now. Go to the Eagle Eye News. Find the space here. The space will be in this broadcast. You will be broadcast across 3 platforms, Rumble, X, and YouTube. This will be uploaded at a later date to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But head over to X Spaces. You can join this discussion ASAP. One second here. So if you are listening right now, again, head over to x.com, go over to Spaces. You find it at The Eagle Eye News. Head over to Spaces and join our conversation. If you don't want to join the conversation, that's fine, but I highly encourage you to come join the conversation. We were supposed to have a very special guest, AI and meme genius, Maverick Darby, and this is going to be a very good time. So looking forward to having this conversation. One of the most fantastic. I apologize for that. One of the most fantastic and effective ways to find. Again, having some technical difficulties here, but we're going to start that space here very, very soon, here momentarily. We're going to have a conversation about the 2025 elections and the importance it has on the forecasting for the midterms, and it's going to be a very, very good time. Give me just a moment, and I will integrate this with the broadcast. I need just a moment. We've been having some technical difficulties the entire night. All right, can you hear me? So give me just a minute. We're going to try and integrate this. I'll explain in a minute. Please share. Working on combining the broadcast with the space. It's not seeming to work very well. There we go. Let's pull this over. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do here is combine this space with my X Rumble and YouTube broadcast. But I have to make sure I do it so that I actually include the audio from the space into the broadcast. So when you're speaking, you're going to be on 3 different platforms. Unfortunately, my testing for all of this didn't work right, so meanwhile, if you could try and drag some people into here, that would be very beneficial. We are still trying to work out some technical difficulties here, but hopefully this will actually work here within 5 minutes. Hold for 5 minutes and we'll be back. We're going to go to an ad break. that you want at the Eagle Eye shop. Reach out via contact@theeagleeye.net via email with your design and your product, and we will consider it, review it, and quite possibly publish it on our store at cost to you. This means that you will get a 40% discount on this product. We will give you credit in our store,
How's it going over
and
there,
we will
Daniel?
publish it, and it'll help fund the Operation for Truth. In the fight against globalism and tyranny, there is no Okay, so I'm still unsure if the audio is being captured or not. But go ahead and start talking, and we'll see what I can do.
Alrighty. So yeah, I just saw that New York City just closed their polls. I was looking up to get to mine. I was gonna go on my lunch, but thankfully I didn't. There was an accident right where I needed to go. So long story short, I looked over at my boss and I said, "I'm leaving 10 minutes early." I said, "I'm gonna go vote." He kind of looked at me all crazy, and I said, "It's the law, buddy. You have to let me go vote." So I got my vote in. We don't got too much going on where I'm at. A couple levies, nothing too crazy. But we do have a mayor's seat that's sitting over a city over, which a lot of money's been going missing from him, but yet they keep voting for him. Typical Youngstown. It's a sad city to see dead. But yeah. See, Virginia's race is called. Just not looking really good right now. I don't know. Shocker, people just don't get out and vote. Do you only want to vote sometimes the midterms, but even then, that's poor numbers. And then it's like every 4 years, people want to get out and vote, unless it's a huge state issue. Nobody, and then they want to complain. I just don't get it. It starts local. I mean, took me a while to learn that, but do what you can do. Try to teach people, or explain like how things work, because some people just don't understand. Nothing's going to change if you only go vote once every 4 years. So I don't know. We shall see. I wonder what proposition. I think it's Proposition 50 in California. Let's see what
Proposition 30.
Proposition 30. Thank you. Yeah, let's see what happens there. They're a little bit behind. I'm surprised Soy isn't here with us. She's a Californian.
Yeah, she's supposed to be joining us here soon. There's actually a lot of people that were supposed to join, but I don't know, they're not here yet.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll build up. I sent out about 15 invites. I almost just want to start mass spamming everybody, but I don't want to, piss anybody off. There's a lot of people that don't message, and I don't want them to see my message and instantly think I'm, some sort of spammer or something. So I don't know. You got anything where you're at? You got any like is it just levies and stuff out by you, or you got any mayor races or? There's truth. What's going on, truth?
I just muted myself. Okay, so I'm sorry I've been listening to 2 streams at one time, but I think we're working. If someone would like to be an angel and go check out my broadcast to make sure this sounds good. It's on YouTube, it's on Rumble, it's also on X. Anyhow, it's really hard to listen to 2 streams at one time when one has like a 15-second latency. So if you're talking into this, you are on YouTube, you're on Rumble, and you're also on X. And this is being recorded, and evidently I'm legally required to say that. Anyhow, I have been ranting for the last hour about these elections because I'm looking like voter turnout, and it's absolutely awful.
It's exactly what I was just saying.
Also, side note, you have quite a bit of an echo.
I do.
Yes. It could just be on my end, but it sounds like it's on your end.
If anybody else can hear me echoing, give me a thumb up emoji. If not, give me 100. The 100 sign. Truth and AJ. Am I echoing? Give me a thumbs up for yes or the 100 sign for no.
It may take a minute because unless you're a speaker, you're also on a latency.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I guess I'm not echoing to everybody else.
So it's just to me.
I don't know. 100. So I guess so. I guess so. I'll try not to talk too loud so I don't
That's
blow
weird.
out your ear.
I guess I'll just have to go back and listen to this later and see if it's just in my monitoring device or if it's recording that way and the way I'm listening to. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
You sound clear.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, I don't know how you just get people out to vote. I mean, as much as I think everybody else here dislikes, Zoran, the fact that, you just got so many people to vote, I don't understand why it's so hard to get people to vote unless it's an election year. That is the one thing that Republicans have always struggled with.
Well, the part that confuses me so much is what's so hard about voting?
Beats me. I mean, you have multiple ways to do it. Even though I believe you should only be able to vote in person, there's multiple ways to do it. What blows my mind, you heard about everything that's been happening in New Jersey today, right? With the bomb threats, and then they had their systems go down, and oddly enough, the race is tight.
Yeah, I didn't even get to covering that in the last hour because I just spent a whole hour ranting about people not voting.
I just don't know how you get people to vote. I mean, do we have to start handing out gift cards like we did for COVID? Like, what the hell? Like, come on, free hamburger or something? Like, go vote. Local, state, national, like, it's got to start locally. People don't comprehend that. I guess they missed that part in school. Do you Truth or AJ? Am I saying that right, AJ? You guys wanna come on here and talk? Got anything to bring to the discussion? I'm kind of going back her face. It's mind blowing. You know, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, with you guys, but like it always blows my mind how accurate my grandfather was years ago. When I was like 12, 13. I don't know why that still sits with me to this day. When he said, Grandpa's glad he's not going to be here to see how the country's going to head. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I was 12, 13 years old. Blew it off like, just grandpa being grandpa. But nope, here we are. I got a simple resolution, though. I got a simple resolution, because for voting, I've seen it today. I've seen
from
it
both
today.
sides, but mainly like Democrats.
From both sides,
as like Democrats are trying to, as I call
bomb
it,
threats
pinpoint
and
bomb threats,
systems
and,
going down.
Systems going down.
First of all, we get rid of those
First of all, we get rid of those
systems.
systems.
Change the system
change
to
the
where it's
system to where it's actually
American
American-owned.
Secondly,
we have
voting
voting
proof.
proof.
Proof of voting.
I don't understand why it's so hard. That would take a lot of the,
a lot of the trust issues within the system. Dean, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm beating my head against the wall trying to figure out how to make all this software work properly. I now understand why people have producers.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Simple for me,
Yeah.
though. I'm on my phone, so I don't got all my thing all set up, my computer. So, but yeah, I get it. It's frustrating.
This is something I'm gonna have to test. I don't know again, but for the first like 10 minutes of this, I didn't realize that I had muted my microphone. So I was talking and talking, and I don't have my face on here, so it was just dead air. I'm like, wow, rookie mistake.
You didn't even know that you were on mute.
Well, I meant like the first 10 minutes of the broadcast, not the space. Though I think I did the same thing with the space too.
Gotcha. Yeah, no. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in New York City.
Yeah, I just read. So New York City has a ballot foreign scam. They have no ID is required. Other mayoral candidates appear twice, and Kumo's name is last in the very bottom right, and Elon Musk is the one who posted that.
Yeah, I saw that. It's unfortunate because you got the lesser of two evils,
Seawall just didn't have a chance.
I think Mondame is obviously going to win.
Yeah, obviously. I think we all do that.
I know there's some debate on it though. They're saying, what was it? There was a poll war. So Polymarket's reporting like a 90% chance that Mamdani will win, but the other polls are presenting like a 60, I think is what it was.
Well, based off the last election, I say Pauly's been pretty accurate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I just saw, according to the AP, 52% of the votes have been counted. Zoran Mamdani has a 49%, and Andrew Cuomo has a 41%.
It's a little bit closer than I thought.
It is, but that's still only 52% of the votes.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure everyone saw their timelines and feeds flooded with hot girls for Zoran and Zoran this and Zoran that.
Oh yeah. The amount of money he's dumped in this campaign has been insane.
Yeah, speaking of that, you saw how his campaign office is like a shipping area or something. It's not even an actual office. Campaign office. That was odd.
That is odd.
Like, there's no actual like office. When you look up the address, it's some sort of like shipping place. I don't know. I like I said, I don't know how you get. I mean, unfortunately, and when I was a college age kid, and stuff like that, I was very easily influenced, and now it's just so much worse, with misinformation, AI, and then you add Donald Trump in office, so people are just going to vote simply because Trump doesn't like them or because they're the opposite of Trump, without even knowing exactly what they're voting for. Um, I'd like to see where all this money's going to come from, in New York City. And people don't understand the concept that if you really try to run New York City the way that Zoran wants to run it, you're going to chase out all the businesses and all the companies. Therefore, money leaves New York City. What do you mean? Explain. Yeah. Yeah. The lesser of two evils. It's a horrible, horrible like choice selection for sure. And it's the younger vote that's gonna get Zoran the win. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'd say I have a lot of misinformation, and I think if Trump wasn't president, I think things would be a little bit different. People wouldn't be so quick to just vote simply out of, I don't know, call it TDS or the sound of, oh, this is free, this is free, this sounds great, but it's never always free. Sounds nice on paper. Socialism, communism always sounds nice on paper until you actually read history or understand how it works. Take the EBT as an example. It's a perfect example. And the money runs up, the money isn't there, then what? There's soy. Hey, come on now. Let's bring some more people in this conversation. Send an invite. Daniel will accept you. Sure, you guys don't want to hear just me and him talk. All right. I don't even know if anyone's. Oh no. Oh, I'm talking. Is anyone trying to like speak? Is anyone actually trying to send a Oh, okay. Oh, gotta love the technical issues. What's so funny? Everyone's laughing. Can anyone hear me now? Did I miss something?
Well, that's a relief. I was losing
There we
my
go.
mind. Chris was talking to himself for a while and I couldn't even answer anything. So, you guys were talking about New York and like the generations and who would be dumb enough to be voting for Mandami. And, uh, it just goes back to me because Chris, you talked about your grandfather. It's got to be it's got to be just not conscience consciously parenting people correctly to understand the world and politics and how important it is, because you also spoke to low voter turnout. When I went, they even told me that my son and daughter-in-law had just been there, and it was the biggest turnout they'd ever seen for this level of election. And but my daughter had a different polling place and the machine jammed on her. And she reported it because they said, "Oh yeah, it'll get counted." She's like, after everything she was hearing about Chester County, which is abhorrent, uh, she was angry too when she left. And I couldn't. I will never understand how anyone could elect Spanberger or Mandami. It's like beyond my comprehension. Hey, Soy, how you been?
Hey, so sorry I'm late. And if I drop out, it's because I'm at my mom's and she lives in the middle of nowhere. So I was out feeding and it took me longer than I thought because she'd moved some goats around and I couldn't find them. So that was educational. But I saw that crazy woman won in Virginia and I went, "Oh my gosh." It it amazes me. I mean, I'm echoing what AJ said. It just absolutely amazes me how these people vote for this type of person. And it makes me wonder, like, are Republicans just not coming out to vote because it's not a presidential election, or are there just more, you know, Democrats out there voting? I don't know. It's
Some
concerning.
somehow it's, as far as I can remember, and I think as far as almost all of us can remember, Democrats have always had people show up for all elections, and a lot of them just vote blindly, like I did for years as a Democrat.
And I can speak for my children and their spouses. We've never missed a vote. Not any. Okay, this. If you had missed voting today in my county, then you didn't get to vote for Republicans to stay on the school board. And to me, that is a huge issue. We need our schools. We have good public schools. We don't have any guys on girls' teams or shared bathrooms or any of that junk going on. We don't. It was also our county council. It was getting rid of this, voting to not retain the horrible PA Supreme Court judges who threw out Cosby's conviction on a hearsay story that he had a verbal agreement with the prosecutor. It's like, who the heck wouldn't go out to make sure that you have the right people? County council, they tried to turn one of our buildings that was designated as green space and dog parks and hiking fields, and the building was still there, but is scheduled for tear down. They tried to reutilize the building to bring illegal aliens to stay there. The whole county went ballistic. We were like, no, 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 no. But if we didn't have the people we have on our uh, board of electors and our school boards and all, we would have been deluged by them.
Yeah, it's good that you got a good you're in a good area. You're in a good area. It's important, and a lot of people just can't seem to understand that or comprehend. The common sense of it starts locally. Truth, you got your hand up. You can go ahead and speak, man.
Yeah, I'm looking at New York, New Jersey, and Virginia, and I tell you what, I break it down like this. Number one, obviously, there's the ballot issue in New York. Madami was on the ballot twice. That's New York state law. So he ran as a Democrat, and then he ran also on a third party ticket. So he gets his name at the top of the ballot twice, and because he was the number one ranked Democrat candidate, because he beat out Cuomo appears way down at the bottom as a, alternate Democrat candidate in case you don't want to vote for him. But, he's New York's got so many problems. There's no voter ID. He's on the ballot twice. And, it looks like across the board there was low voter turnout. So, I mean, that's the only positive to come out of this. Like, okay, he won because of low voter turnout. Trump wasn't backing any of these people and didn't, he wasn't supporting anyone. So that caused some hangups. But this is the first Muslim and openly communist mayor of, you might say, America's greatest city. It's insane. And not even, what are we, 23 years removed from 9/11, and now the mayor is Muslim. Absolutely insane. Moving to Virginia, that is a disgusting sweep. It was a bloodbath down there for Republicans. Again, I think the only saving grace is low voter turnout, and Trump was not affiliated with any of the opposing candidates except for the attorney general, and that was the closest. Race, was the candidate that Trump was backing for attorney general. It was like there was only like half a point difference or whatever. But in all these other races, from Madami in New York to what's Sheckelberger, whatever her name is in Virginia, I mean, they're like 11, 12 point spreads. And the black conservative lady that was running in Virginia, she didn't want anything to do with Trump. And quite honestly, and it just goes to show, she didn't get the black vote. She didn't pull the black vote at all. Black people primarily, unless you're going hard like Trump, like, they don't vote for white people. They vote for Democrats. It doesn't matter if you're white or black, is what I'm saying. They vote Dem across the board. That's why they call it the plantation. That's why you had Blexit. But in strongholds like Virginia, Blexit didn't really take root. And then this thing in New Jersey, again, the red governor didn't want to take any of Trump's backing, distance himself from Trump, and I think that one's going to be like 8, 9, 10 point run also. So I mean, this is just a brutal night for Republicans. The only saving grace is low voter turnout. Hopefully that's true. And it's basically none of these candidates took an endorsement from Trump except for the attorney general in Virginia, and that was the closest one. All the other ones were just complete blowouts. So it kind of sucks. We just elected some really, really bad people to some very, very, strong positions of power.
Yeah, Mickey's up 56 to 42, I think, right now, with 60% of the vote in. They're already pretty much giving it to her. AJ, you can go ahead.
Sherry. Well, Sherry or Cheryl, but the I is more pronounced, I think.
Yeah, I think California closes in another hour. Am I right, Soy?
Is it 6 or is it 7 or 8? Because it's 6:40 now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our polls close at 8. So a lot of the things are, if you're in line, stay in line kind of thing. You just have to be in line at 8 o'clock. And I didn't work the polls this time because I had to be, in like Paso Robles today. So I have no idea what the voter turnout is, and I haven't really been online because I've been driving. So
What have you
I'm
been
really,
hearing support wise for Prop 30? Have you been hearing a lot of do you see a lot of support out there or a lot of signage or?
um, it's Prop 50, and Democrats, they do their early voting, so their numbers come out strong. Republicans, we like to vote on the day of. Um, I'm not sure why that is. I mailed mine in and I track it just to make sure that it gets where it's supposed to, and I do it way ahead of time, so there's not a problem. But I mean, turnout for Republicans is low. There's a lot of people who are like, no on 50, but then there's a lot of people who are just dumb and think yes on 50, we're going to save democracy. And I'm like, especially on Facebook, and I really shouldn't comment on those people, but I do it anyways. And I have to ask a question. I'm like, do you even know what Prop 50 is? Because it's not that. And then they'll block me or whatever, or sometimes they'll respond back, but there's a lot of freaking stupid ignorance. And the problem is that the cities that are blue, San Diego, LA, Fresno, there's just a huge population of people. And while a lot of California is red, that red area is not nearly as densely populated as the blue areas are. So,
I say
well,
it's all done on purpose.
oh, I'm sure it is. I mean, I've seen, I love this on the way to Paso. There's a trailer, and I've seen it. It's been up here, it's been up for years. They have this huge banner on the side of a semi that's parked that I guess they use it for storage, something. Um, and it's my picture on my banner. It's like, tired of this, vote Republican. Um, it's fantastic. But I have seen quite a few um, like no on 50 signs. I guess they had some like overpass, where people stand over the overpass and, hold their signs up and that kind of stuff. But I mean, that doesn't really work in my area because most of the overpasses don't have like crosswalks because it's just a freeway. Um, but they do a lot of that stuff down south, which is good because it's more densely populated. It makes sense to do that there. Um, so, we have yard signs and things like that, but I just, I feel like it's really hard. Like it's pulling teeth to try to get Republicans to vote when it's not a presidential election. Like even when I was canvassing for, local government, some people were like, "Oh, we have an election coming up," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're in this district. This is the person. Here's a little bit about him. You should be getting it in the mail." And people were like, "Oh, well, I didn't even know," and I'm like, "Oh my God." So, I the GOP sucks. Like they don't spread the word more than like X posts. It's annoying.
There's percentages for votes to not keep them or to keep them. Hope it stays low. Good, good, good. I told everybody to get rid of them. I was wondering, Truth, when you were speaking about the Winsome and I forget the guy running in New Jersey for governor, and did they not ask for an endorsement from Trump, or did they refuse one? Like, there's a distinction there, and
It's
I'm not
it's
sure.
my understanding that the Attorney General for Virginia was the only candidate to request endorsement.
That's bizarre. Because Sears was even in the Marines, so you would think that she would be aligned more closely with Trump and the mission, if you will. And the other question I have is, okay, well, because he could have endorsed them anyway. So do you think? Does anyone think that there's a possibility that these New York City, Virginia, and New Jersey going down into a spiral death throw of ashes and chaos is an acceptable risk to show the rest of the country what these people are about? And maybe that's why there was no endorsements, and no, it's just like, enough. I'm going to let you just hit the ground. Because sometimes I wonder if that may be what actually has to happen to wake people up.
I definitely think that's what it is with New York City, sadly.
I think so too. I don't know if I give them that much like credit planning wise, but it kind of seems like, okay, we don't have really great candidates, so we're just going to let the chips fall as they may. But I mean, I don't know how long is their term in New York for governor? Is it 6 years like here, or I don't know, is that standard? Anybody know?
4 years, is my understanding for New York.
Is
Yeah,
that
I might be wrong. Fact check that, somebody.
All right, so I'm just saying, I mean,
Sorry, mayor.
yeah, mayor. I just um 4 years I mean, look at what Biden did in 4 years. I'm like, I mean, he could absolutely demolish New York, in 4 years. It could look like freaking Gaza. It could be bad. And I feel really bad for the normal people that live there that, tried to fight it. I mean, I understand. I'm in California. Like,
the, the
we
scary
fight, but we lose.
the scary thing for me is that since, depending on how this turns out in New York in the final count, I think that and I hope I'm wrong, that if it's a decent amount gap and it's a decent amount of a positive response in comparison to, like, other votes and other issues going on in the country, I have a feeling that the front runner is going to run on socialistic ideals for the president, for Democrat. I just don't know who.
Yeah, Daniel, that's kind of my point. There's no doubt that the come 2028, it's going to be a socialist. So why not let people see even before the midterms, because it's not going to take them a full year to destroy the places, especially New York City. Why not let them win to show everybody this is this is the other option. And and maybe that will have well, it should have humongous impact when voting in the midterms. Uh,
Before I let Truth speak, just found out that in Youngstown, I was just speaking on this earlier. Tito Ortiz was their mayor. Guy's a jackass. Bunch of money go up missing. He's just a jackass. I mean, if you know anything about Youngstown, it's a trash hole. It used to be a beautiful city, run on steel and everything like that. But Tito Ortiz just lost the mayor race in Youngstown, so that's good. To a Democrat, but he's not your today Democrat. Truth, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump more on this New York City fallout and what's projected to happen. Let's not forget that throughout COVID, masses of people fled New York with businesses getting shut down. So I mean, they've already taken a huge financial hit. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I know that the last mayor, what was his name? The bald black guy. Well, it was happening during Cuomo. Um, and then the black bald guy took over.
Adams.
Adams, thank you. And that's why he was having so much trouble kind of getting the city, generating tax revenue and getting the city back to its feet because all those people had fled during COVID with Cuomo. And now you're just going to have more people fleeing. One of Madami's policies is he wants to tax white neighborhoods. He wants to raise taxes on anyone making $1 million, which $1 million doesn't get you a lot in New York. New York has a lot of millionaires, and it doesn't get you a lot in New York. He wants to tax the hell out of those guys, people that worked hard to start businesses. It is going to be an exodus to Florida, just like it was during COVID. And something I kept putting out today, as I'm looking at the numbers and seeing where I'm going, is I'm basically saying, hey, when these people flee to your states, your red districts, do not let them vote. They will just vote back in the same shit. I guarantee the same. Many of the people that are going to be fleeing New York over the next 6 months are the same people that voted for him. And it's an endless cycle of locust and it's a mess.
Well, I mean, look at Texas. I mean, I'm not saying Texas is blue, but look how much Democratic voters are now in Texas.
Yeah,
It's pretty
wait
much
in
backing up what you're saying. But yeah, before I let Soy talk, I think it was you, Truth, that said it in the one space we had a couple weeks ago, where it was like, I think it was you were saying, let's see how honest the news and the mainstream media covers it, and to see how they cover it when shit hits the fan in New York. I think that was you, and I love that. I'm lost for words. Soy, I think Soy had her hand up.
Yeah, so Truth, you brought up a really good point about, people fleeing New York. And honestly, the people that probably fled are, the Republicans who kind of saw what was coming and how bad it was. Not all of them, but I would say probably a decent portion. But I didn't even think about that. Um, I know we had quite a few who left California. Was hoping they were all from San Francisco, but I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. But I think that makes a really good point. If, those people are fleeing because they kind of saw the writing on the wall, then that just leaves, the crazy Democrats to vote. And then that's how you end up with Mondami. And I really hope that it's eye-opening for the people that are there that see how his policies pretty much run their city to the ground. And I hope that the rest of the world sees it too. I feel bad for the normal people that live there.
But
I really do.
Soylent, I guess the issue is what's going to happen is these people are going to go to Florida, just like California's, flocked over to Texas. New Yorkers were fleeing to Florida. And what they end up doing is they end up voting for the same policies that they just fled. Because that's the problem that I have here in my little county. We're outside of Baltimore, and people flee the city because of all the horrible decisions and the crooked politicians and the horrible policies. But then they start to elect people and start to root for people or run on policies that they were just fleeing in Baltimore City. And I'm watching, again, the best way to describe it is like a locust. Like it's really, I know that's a horrible, kind of callous way to describe it, metaphor for it, but I can't think of anything better. It just spreads and they just consume everything and ruin everything with the same bad policies that they just fled. And it's just, I'm watching it creep up from northeast Baltimore, and it's coming up the southwest of my county. And, it's the same thing that's happening in Florida right now and Texas, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I totally get what you're saying. And it doesn't make any sense to me because if you don't like what's happening, if you voted for something and then the outcome isn't what you want, and you leave and you go somewhere else and vote the exact same way, it's like, isn't that the definition of insanity? Like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result when you're not going to get a different result. You're going to get the same thing because you keep voting for the same thing. And I don't know how you get people to open their eyes and see that you're the reason that you don't like where you live and you keep leaving, but you keep voting for the same stuff. Like how, I guess, I don't want to say how dumb are you, but I mean, when are you going to see the writing on the wall? I guess that's my, like, you're the problem, honey. You're the reason you voted for this and then you got that and then you didn't like it. So you left and then you voted for it again. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Well,
So
that's like the age old thing, right? It's like, oh well, socialism works, communism works, and you point out like, when remember the Field of Burn with Bernie Sanders, and he was like talking about Venezuela and I don't know, and Cuba and all these countries. It's like, oh well, that wasn't real communism. No, we need to do it the right way. That was communism the wrong way. It's like, and that's what they say. They'll say, oh well, Madami didn't do it the way that I wanted him to, or and I don't. That's just how it is. It's just how it is.
well, it's excuses. They make excuses for their poor behavior. And I feel bad because I don't know if it's Gen Z or whatever's after it, they were never held accountable. Like they just, not so much you, Danielle, but, the younger generations. And I see it with my sister, and her son is young, but I mean, like 4, but still, he gets away with all kinds of. Dude, I'm like, my butt would have been so red. I would have been in my room, like staring and like licking paint off the walls because I just. We grew up in the same household. She would have gotten in trouble too, but she just like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, it's not okay. I'm like, you are raising a terror. Like, do you not see this coming? But they don't seem to see it coming. It's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. And it's not. Like,
I
when are
think
they
that's
going to realize that it's not going to be fine?
I
I
think that's
feel
what
horrible
Hayden
for
was saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Truth. My bad.
I feel horrible for the people that aren't going to be able to free. Crime is going to go through the roof. He's talking about releasing all sorts of criminals, and they already have that stuff going on where like people are just walking around randomly punching women in the head. Like it's a game. It's like kind of like the game that they have here in Baltimore, where like a group of like 30 kids will run through the inner harbor and just beat the crap out of the first old white vulnerable person they see, and then they put it on like TikTok or YouTube or whatever. But like that's like in New York City, they have the game where like groups just you just walk around and they just punch women randomly in the head and video it. They're like giant compilations on YouTube and X and all that. It's insane. The crime is going to be through the roof. Daniel, can you recap that texting thing for people that might not remember?
Go ahead, AJ.
Thanks. When I think of all the young people who are jumping up and down saying, oh, government stores, and to their mind, that's quote unquote free food, they have no idea that means rationed food. Not just rationed, but selected for you, what you may have, what you may not have. They don't, even if you just picked up a dictionary and looked up socialism or communism, you don't have to take a full course. Read the definition of what it means is going to happen to you. They literally just voted themselves into communist slavery. Where,
That's like
go ahead.
that's like David Hogg. I seen him post earlier. I'm sure you guys know who David Hogg is. Anyway, he had a picture and he was talking about voting or whatever. I can't remember the exact post was, but he was eating a piece of bread, and I said, "Well, you might as well ration out that piece of bread and split that one piece up between everybody."
I'm curious how they're going to get food and supplies in there. Because another thing he's talking about doing is raising the taxes to drive through the city, the carbon taxes, the gas taxes, all of that stuff. And it's like, well, that was another thing that happened during COVID, during Cuomo or whatever, is that they raised like the gas taxes. Remember that the truckers weren't going to go in there. The truckers started boycotting New York. I'm seeing that's going to happen again too. Man, New York City is going to get clobbered. Like it's like going to be the perfect storm.
Well,
He's in charge of directing all of his state's attorneys on how to prosecute, what cases to prosecute, what cases not to pursue. I mean, this guy's about as political as you can get, and guaranteed he's going to be telling all of his state's attorneys, you do not prosecute, Democrats. Make sure you prosecute the hell out of Republicans. We're right back to the tactics they used against the Tea Party.
I just want to say, even though I absolutely cannot stand Kumo, if CLL would have dropped out, looking at the vote right now in the gap, it would literally be a little over 1%, with 88% of the vote in. That's how close it would be. So honestly, CLL would literally helped Mondami get this win.
But you know what? Now, I don't know if you're all sages, but there were an awful lot of us that were for Ross Perot when he was running. And, this really smart businessman, gee, where have we heard that before, right? Mm. But when it came down to the wire and you got to the polls and you saw how the polling was, you're not a moron. You didn't light your vote on fire. You voted for the Republican, the Republican, even though you liked the independent better because he wasn't going to win. That's like Soylent was saying, well, it's not like we do this over and over, but she gave the definition of insanity. You just even just common sense. Could we just have common sense? I just had hoped and prayed that all those people who were polled saying Sliwa, would just look at the numbers and go, okay, hold their nose and vote for Cuomo. Be sensible.
Way better than Amy Acton. God forbid. Oh, I know. Oh God, I don't think we got enough time to recap Bush.
Man, I feel bad for Scott Pressler, man. He works his butt off. And then to have all those people that he worked, to try to get out be retained, it makes you wonder. I mean, I always wonder in California because our elections are far from fair. And I wonder if that's what's happening over there because, man, he gets people riled up and, gung ho and knocks on doors. And I'm sad. I'm sad for him because he works hard.
I mean, if you can't get people out to vote after what just happened a couple months ago, then I don't know what it would take. You know, oddly enough, for like these type of elections, the smaller elections. A lot of people think just because they're smaller, they don't go out and vote. I mean, I feel like I'm just on repeat, but it's just, I mean, we've all said the same thing. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how you get people out to vote, because nothing's going to change federally in a lot of cases until people go out and vote locally and state and everything in between.
It's funny you brought that up, Chris, because I purposely wore my shirt that says freedom and Charlie Kirk on the back when I went to vote today.
Trump just threw it on Truth talking about, hold on one second. I'll pull it out. I'll read it out. Go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I agree. I thought there would be an impact from I don't know. I know people have short memories and short ability to hold on to truth, if you will. But today, I'm so disappointed I could vomit, really.
So here's what Trump said. Trump said Trump wasn't on the ballot and shut down were the two reasons that Republican lost elections tonight, according to pollsters. That's what he just put on Truth. Says the reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to the pollsters, is blaming the two reasons that the Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters. That's what Trump said.
If the GOP was smart, they would spend some time educating voters as far as the importance of how everything works, because I think that's about the only way we're going to get Republicans to actually come out and vote. We have midterms coming up, and if we have turnout like we had for this, we're screwed. So they need to, I don't know, they need to step it up and
Then you start showing Schoolhouse Rock again in the school.
explain how, how these things work and how that each level is important no matter what it is. Because I mean, in my little town, I helped get these guys elected. It was a lot of work. It was hot. But I tell you what, having them on city council has made a huge difference. I mean, they're starting to pave roads that haven't been paved in like freaking 20 years that were horrible. We're getting lights fixed, projects are finished. There's a lot of things that I can personally see that are happening because, we've elected Republicans who are like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're getting rid of this crap. This is what we're focusing on, and it's fantastic. But it has to start, you get those people, and then when those people are like, oh, well, maybe I'll run for this, and they kind of build up. But you're right. I think it was Truth was saying we don't have good Republican candidates, and the problem is that why should I go out and vote when it's, oh, well, I don't really like this guy, but I know that I don't like the Democrat. So why am I going to take the time to do it? And I think that's kind of where our mentality is. We need to educate voters on, how to make it simple. This turns to this, turns to this, turns to this, and that makes your life better. And we need to find strong Republican candidates to fill these positions. I think that's really where we're lacking.
I don't know what those are. Can you fill everybody in or me in, please?
What state is this for?
So no ID, no photo ID is what they voted for, and then at the same time they voted to be able to report your family members to remove guns.
You know, not only that, people, the red flag laws do not give you a hearing before they come to your door without because somebody reported, some crazy person reported you out of, revenge, vengeance, just evilness. They take your guns and you have to wait 30 months for a hearing. So it's not that's hideous. That's not even due process. They should tack something on your door saying there's a hearing, but that's not the way it works. So I don't know what little sliver of a mind that they may have had that they've lost, that they would vote that into law.
So let me get. Then the guns just become like drugs, and they're just all in the wrong hands. I mean, drugs are illegal. Look at fentanyl. Look at all these other drugs. It's all illegal. That doesn't change anything. It's insane to me, the logic and the thinking. Yeah, like you said, let's just give it to the government, because surely only the government will have weapons, and there will be no black market, right? Because guns are illegal. I mean, people, their logic. There isn't a lot. Yeah, let's give due process. Let's give due process to cartels and illegals, and let's take people's guns away and tell them they got to wait 30 months. That's unbelievable.
Well, it seems like, I guess the takeaway from tonight is, don't get black pilled. Obviously, it seems pretty brutal on the surface, and especially for the first hour or two sitting in. Everyone knew Madamni was going to win, but even like hearing it, it's still like a hard pill to swallow, even though we all knew it was going to happen. We all predicted this, like what last time we all talked 2 months ago or something, a month and a half ago, we talked about this. We all knew he was going to win. Um, but I guess the positive that we got to keep in mind is coming up for midterms. Now Trump's going to be able to go out on the campaign trail, rally the base, and especially now he's going to have two new two new things that he can point to and say, "Hey, you don't want your town or your state to be like this. You don't want your state to be like this." He's going to be able to point to NYC, because that's going to go to shit. And then he's going to be able to point to Virginia, because with the three of them, because don't forget, it's not just the governor, they also got that wackadoodle lieutenant governor and now the AG as well. So that state is just going to be shrouded in corruption and all sorts of horrible things moving forward. So he's going to use these just like he uses everything else. He's going to use that to point the finger, to bring it up at his rallies, rally the base. The only thing I'm worried about really going into the midterms right now is why the hell is he backing Lindsey Graham, and why is he pecking at Massey? That
I'm
kind of
starting.
concerns me.
I'm starting to, and take this with a grain of salt as I'm saying this. I'm not implying like, rah rah this that, but I'm almost fearing that some of these warmongering rhinos or Republicans are starting to get their, I don't want to say they're under the skin or anything like that, but I don't know. This is how many times has he backed him? And I don't know. It just some of these people that have never liked Trump are all of a sudden like I don't know. There's just a lot of things that a lot of shady stuff going on, and you would think that from his last time that he was in, he would learn who to not let around him. But it's obvious that his base, anybody that voted for him, does not like Lindsey Graham a majority. Oh, he's a switch hitter, yeah. Oh yeah, I agree, and especially with JD, going to be running. I mean, you got to set the tone. Go ahead, AJ.
Well, I'm just thinking that as you say, call Trump the populist. Yeah, but we don't necessarily. I mean, I love Trump. But and voted for him every time. But I don't consider myself. I don't even know how to define MAGA. I don't use that word, and I see what happened with Trump as developing a new mindset of people who know what they want and will continue, please God, to know what they want. And so I don't. But I did hear you earlier. I was listening to you when you came on at 8 as well. Um, You're welcome, and you were quite good. And I just I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, but we all know he's he's older. He did this favor for us by putting these last years of one's life to fix this country, and it really is going to be up to us to um to keep moving forward with the agenda, even without we have to become our own leaders, and those that run have to run in that same tone, if I'm articulating that in a sensible way.
No, I agree, but here's the issue. I think, and I think we're starting to see it is that um, there's a huge part of the base, that from the get go didn't want to be involved with any wars or any other country. They wanted us to be taken care of first. And I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of people unless things change over in the Middle East and everything just stops. Yeah, I think that's going to be very, very decisive for the midterms, especially with the younger vote. I just think I think it's in order for the midterms to work, there's going to have to be a lot of mini, I guess what you want to say, Scott Presslers, um, people doing their part in their neighborhood, just trying to get people out, even if it's just a couple blocks, and one person, couple blocks, whatever. It's just to get people out to vote. You just gotta have to do something. You know, I don't. That'd be my only. And start early. Start in this early spring. As soon as the weather gets nice, to start hitting it and start campaigning.
I sure do. I've been out canvassing to get voter ID on the ballot and was reminding people to, vote on Prop 50. Um, so, I think part of the problem is, just getting the word out. And I mean, knocking on doors takes time. It's not fun, but you get your steps in. But a lot of people, they don't watch, they have other things going on. They don't watch the news. They don't hang out on X, all day or, do that kind of stuff. So they're more worried about, going to work and doing that kind of stuff. So it's important. I know that GOP was supposed to send out mailers and I got a mailer yesterday. I was like, wow, way to wait till the last minute, like voting's tomorrow. So I really feel like our GOP's letting us down in more ways than one. Um, but it's about taking the time. And even if you just canvass like your block, like if everybody canvassed your block, then those people may go to work and be like, hey, did you know? And then it just spreads. But we don't do that. I feel like we don't, spend a lot of time talking about it. Um, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
There's a lot of work to get done. A lot of things I think that needs to, I don't know, happen or change in order to, to get people to get out to vote. I don't know. I don't know, but if any, hold on, just 1 second. This is kind of breaking news. I don't know if anybody cares to. Madami's about to speak. I know everybody's excited to hear from him. That's. I just want to share that.
Will he be doing that in English?
Well, yes, and he's gonna be cheesing, all corny. I don't know. They got the camera up, and there's a shit ton of people there. Obviously, it's not like a big like arena or anything, but it's pretty packed. And I don't know. They're saying he's about to be speaking any minute. So I I mean I'm good, but I'm just one person. I don't know if anybody else wants to hear from. True. Can't they chat? Can't they chat? Oh no, I'm speaking like on YouTube or Rumble. Can they chat? Can you see it? Can you see the chat? Oh, I've always wanted. I've always kind of want to say this. What's up, chat?
You could be internet famous. Woohoo!
I'm interesting. I think. You know what's funny is that my original name was Christopher. Simple. My other ex, and then this was Dark Christopher. Um, and because it was meant to be not really a burner account but a secondary, and thankfully I made it because the last one is So now that's just stuck, and I just kept this. I'll keep it, I guess. Like, Dark Chris.
Oh man. See, I thought you were like dark MAGA, like Elon and his hat, which I
I mean,
totally am not
that's
gonna lie.
that's basically what I based it off of when I made this. I think in August of 24, because my other account was about 3 years old, and I talked about Hillary, and my account was gone after that. So
Hey, be glad it was just your account and not you. You know how she is.
yeah, true, true. I don't know, my health's been pretty bad lately. I don't know.
Uh-oh. Better get right with the Clintons.
I did not have sex. I did not inhale. I guess
I did not have relations with that woman.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
How she thought she could win kills me. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, worth it.
He had a lot of support in New York. What I mainly see Jewish wise, it's not. I don't. I don't want to say. I don't know if it's 30% of the whole entire. But are you saying it made 30% of the vote? Anyway, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that the much older like Jewish people was more of half and half. I felt like they leaned a little bit more um, not towards him. But the younger, especially in the alphabet community, um, were real big on him. Go figure.
That is the most massive example of cognitive dissonance that I have ever heard of in my life. Yes.
Well, my theory on this is sort of kind of. I knew that he was getting a lot of donations from the Jewish community, and I, for better or worse, it seems like that kind of, and it's the same thing with the Jewish community and the LGBTQ community. Obviously that goes against their beliefs, just like um, I don't know. Well, that's just one example. Obviously, that goes against their beliefs, just like Islam goes against their beliefs and all that. But what's more important is you get that, you bulk up, you feed the demon, you feed the LGBTQ movement, because that's gonna take out the city faster, right? That's gonna cause disruption, chaos, all sorts of problems. It's gonna break up the families. It's just gonna be a mess. And it's the same theory, I think, with getting behind Madamni is, hey, well, he's just going to break up the city faster. He's just going to completely destroy the city faster. So I don't know. That's what I've observed, and like just
And
I mean, just some basic pattern recognition. You can see that that's how they usually vote for people. If they would have thought AOC could have got in there and destroyed the city faster than Madamni, they would have backed her.
no, I agree. But what's oh yeah, I just lost train of thought with that one. I have to come back to me.
Well,
No, that's exactly. Hold on, I got the train of thought, and that's basically what I was gonna say. If you went to his country, you know, a lot of these like the people that like to play dress up, and you go to his country, you know what would happen, flat out. And we know what the majority of their end goal is to spread Sharia law. And we've seen them in Minneapolis, I believe, and in Michigan. I mean, it's I don't know. Either way, it's not good. We're losing touch of where we should be as a country. You know, fought so hard to win this election, and it just seems like ah yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
You have to start a honeypot scheme. Oy vey, oy vey.
Um, you could always do free hamburgers like they did for COVID. No, this isn't Biden's event. But no, seriously, maybe no, it's not all serious though. All serious, maybe some sort of like I don't know, maybe some sort of like spaghetti dinner, like something like buy a ticket, whatever. Gather people up like locally in your areas and stuff like that. Like maybe if you can got church hall, rent a church hall, or maybe your local church, your church will just let you use it. You don't got or wherever, do something like that. Raise money for local chapters or whatever, local Republican offices, and just basically like Soy and everybody else been talking about a block, or I mean, it doesn't have to be, or join an organization that is already set up, like Pressler had or other people have, apps where you can sit there and text. I mean, that's what I did. You know, I was on the phone a lot, sending text message. A lot of people were not happy. Stop texting me. And it looks like a almost like a bot. So you get all capital. Stop texting. No, I will not vote for Trump. Stuff like that. But a couple hangups. But I try to do my part. I don't know, just a couple ideas, but AJ has her hand up, so. Oh, for sure. I would say definitely for like maybe both, because that's first of all the midterms. More importantly, I would say because that's where we lack people voting, and trying to encourage people to get out to spread word or get people to vote or register. But obviously elections are important too, the main elections.
So my mind went to what they did during the Vietnam War. And I was a young teenager and would stare aghast. It's burned in my memory as name after name after name of American soldiers rolled across the TV screen announcing their death. You take New York and you take one horrible, horrible thing after another and roll it. You take Virginia, what they end up doing, because that piece of crap AG is going to be doing lawfare all over, and you roll it across your screens. You roll pictures of people in line for their hunks of cheese and their loaf of bread in New York, because if he's going to have government stores, That's what you're going to be seeing. People in line. It won't. I mean, we were in line for gas on every other day when Carter was in, and thought that was horrific. But let me tell you, you get some pictures of the United States of America, biggest city, New York City, with a crowd 2 blocks long in line at a store for their share of bread and cheese, and then all the death tolls running. Has anyone ever done that for Chicago? No, nobody has ever done that. How come? Because nobody wants any, nobody cares. Nobody cares to show how many people, children and mothers even, sitting in their living rooms and bullets come through the window and take off their head. I mean, a baby was killed in a crib. That might have been Philly, but that kind of thing, like the shock thing, that that really turned America into absolute chaos. Watching those names roll down that screen, and it didn't matter if you were 12 or 13 or 48. It had an impact that never leaves your gut. Raw truth, baby. Show it all. Well, history does repeat itself.
I think it's a great idea. I think um, taking like Scott Presser's idea, and instead of, I mean, he's doing it for the whole state. If you take it and you single it down by city, and you have people doing what he's doing city by city by city, you're going to reach a lot more people because you're going to be canvassing on a local level. And I think that's where Republicans lose it. They do the whole, oh, grassroots, but really, we had their like grassroots coordinator person come to help. And I think they gave us like $1,000 to buy flyers and stuff like that and like send out one mailer. That was all the GOP gave us for our city. So I'm like, well, where does the rest of this money go? Um, I know there are a lot of cities in California, but I'm thinking you guys are doing a lot of fundraising, you're making a lot of cash, and you're not spending it where you should be. So we really just need to get people more aware. You know, it's not like before where you had 4 freaking channels, the news was on at like 5 and 10, and that was it. Or it was in the newspaper, and people just don't do that. There's so many outlets now, it's hard to reach everybody, and we're missing out on reaching them. There were people who didn't even know we were supposed to be voting today. It's ridiculous.
I just wanted to say, first of all, I was today years old when I learned how to put my hand up on the phone with the emoji. I didn't even want to say that, but I just figured that out. So that's noted. Secondly, I've really enjoyed talking with everybody tonight. I'm gonna hop out of here a few minutes early. I got to be up super early for work, and I'm just now starting to cook dinner for us. So I just wanted to say enjoy the conversation. AJ, it was nice meeting you. Everybody else out there listening on Rumble and YouTube that I can't see, I'm just gonna plug our little show, little space that we do on Thursdays, the Eagle Eye Faith and Freedom Forum. It's a discussion on, multiple different things, kind of, bring what you want to discuss. We usually pick a few different things, but we kind of, it's a little free for all. Sometimes we get a couple bots from different countries that likes to yell, so it's always entertaining. But yeah, watch out for that. So this Thursday, I believe it's 8 o'clock. I don't know, I might be wrong. The time change just kind of messed me up. So yeah, 8:45. See, I'm about an hour behind. That makes sense. We fell back. I fell back. So yeah, I enjoyed talking to everybody tonight. It's been the only positive thing out of the outcome of all this. I'm probably gonna turn the TV off, the news, so I don't have to see any more of this, and turn on something to watch and just relax and call it a night. So everybody have a good night.
Good night.
Yes. If Chris left, it's you, me, Soylent, and Truth on this space.
Did you send him an invite after the space opened? Oh no, I get that.
I think there was a lot of fatigue today too. No matter how anybody started out, um, as the day wore on, the more you were on scrolling through things, the more just physically and emotionally fatigued you got by your utter disbelief in humanity.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue because I was going to say that we need a MAGA America First kind of win going into the midterms, something that was promised. Now, I mean, we're not getting the mass deportations that we thought we were going to get. We're not getting the prosecutions or the charges out of Bondi that we thought we were going to get. All we got is a couple indictments, Bolton and Comey and Letitia James. We got three little tiny indictments 10 months later. What else aren't we getting right away? We're not getting the super low gas prices. I don't know about where you guys are at, but here in Maryland, it's just been jumping between 285 and 310 for the last 10 months. It just goes right back and forth between 285 and 310. I don't know what's going on. We also just had our electric bills go up. That might just be a Maryland thing. I don't know, because BG kind of stinks and they mess with us all the time. But another thing is we're not seeing our food prices go down significantly. Now, inflation has stalled, but it's not going down significantly. We didn't see the Fed, he was fighting with the Fed forever. And what did they just drop interest rates a quarter a point or something like that? So I think if we have a major win, a major prosecution, or a major, I don't know, or mass deportations, or like legitimately end some of these wars. There's supposedly a ceasefire going on right now, but they're still fighting. Ukraine and Russia are still fighting. Now we're blowing up shit outside of Venezuela. We're not really getting a really strong, anything that we voted for. And maybe if we just got one or two things, something hits really hard that we voted for, that might help unify some of these disruptions between the Fuenteses and the Shapiros. But that's been going on for a decade anyway. There's nothing you could do about that. But it might help with some of this stuff, rein some of these politicians in, like your Randy Fine, your out, and your like other personalities like Tucker Carlson and stuff. So I don't know. I hope to see something like that unifying, and that gives us reignites MAGA going into midterm. Well, Well, real quick, it gets worse than that. At that same conference, it was like the Conservative Jewish American Conference or whatever it was. I forget what it was called. Mark Levin spoke, and Mark Levin essentially called out Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and there was somebody else, and then Nick Fuentes, and basically said, he was kind of talking about Charlie Kirk like right before it, and then said that those people needed to also be taken care of. Like, it went way far. That was Mark Levin. It was nuts.
Well, back to Truth's point, I what I wouldn't give to have your gas prices. I saw gas for $3.89, and I almost cried today because I was like, "Oh my God, finally under $4." Um, and I don't even get me started. And I think we've gone up 65% in our electric costs in the past like 5 or 6 years, and they're asking the governor to, allow them to do another rate increase. So I'm thinking about busting out some oil lamps at this point because electricity is just getting ridiculous in California. Um, but I understand the frustration. I think we're all frustrated that, things aren't happening as fast as we think they are. And I understand that the wheels of justice turn very slowly. So I get that things going, okay, well, he's trying to get his ducks in a row, and what, we don't see, and we complain because, we don't see anything. He's lining up so that these things hit and, push us through the midterms. That's what I hope is happening. So I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, Truth. I also, in the unifying and all the things that you spoke about that we haven't seen yet, I'd be grateful just to see the GOP, the Republicans in Congress and the Senate do something, do their freaking jobs. That alone would boost me up so much. The rest of it, ongoing, just do the. Yeah, I have to admit, just hearing that hopes to get another million out this year made me feel like, well, whoop-de-doo. That only leaves what, 38 million people left? I mean, because seriously, there's a lot more people here than the quote unquote 10 million. That was always a bull number. That was never, never true. And I have to ask, are you guys talking about? See, I guess I was stupid to stop following people that irritated me, but I kind of like to be, peaceful and optimistic. And so I stopped following a lot of people that I found irritating. Um, were you talking about Mark Levin, the attorney, said something so freaking insane? Because he was not insane 10, 15 years ago when I actually did listen to some of the things he opined about. But if he said that stuff, then I'm sorry, he must be getting like a booster every 6 months and it's gone to his brain because that shocks me. That just absolutely shocks me. Either that or people are becoming possessed. I don't know what the cause is.
Well, I don't know if he was a lawyer. He was a talk show personality, and then he eventually got a show on Fox News, right? Bald guy, glasses, heavy set. I don't know.
Well, what he looks like now versus what he would have looked like a decade ago. When you're going from whatever 65 to 75, you have a lot of facial changes. So I'll have to look it up. I'll have to look it up and see how crazy he is because that's just absolutely appalling. And if it's the same person, well, he's probably retired anyway. He probably doesn't even have an active law license anymore. But that's certainly outside the, code of ethics for moral behavior to say something like that.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing: he's also, just like Lindsey Graham, he is a never Trumper. And so you have this one side of never Trumpers. You have, Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, Randy Fine, Ben Shapiro was a never Trumper, and they're holding these